Still get 4-1 Meditate. So it is the Group 1 over a mile. It's the Coronation Stakes, a race to commemorate the crowning of Queen Victoria back in 1838. Richard.
And Tahiyra and Queen for You, the last two to be led forward for the Coronation Stakes, the round mile, £600,000 to be distributed amongst the 6 fillies, 3 from Ireland, 3 from the UK. And Tahiyra walking forward. Same stalls assistants that were there for Shaquille a bit earlier on. Tahiyra will jump on terms. Indeed she does. And away they head. Meditate jumped okay, but Ryan doesn't seem to want to press the nettle early on, and it's Sounds of Heaven and Ronan Whelan who are moving forward on the outside. On the running rail is Queen for You. As all of the riders, it's tactical early, just having a good look around. Tahiyra just forced to go forward slightly, not to get shuffled here. Around the outside goes Mama's Girl, being ridden more prominently. Tahiyra will be anxious to maintain that cover, and is going to be a bit short of room there after about a couple of furlongs. So Meditate has got to the front, hasn't spent a penny in doing so. Sounds of Heaven in second place. This is steadily run, and Tahiyra shuffled to the back. Mama's Girl on the outside. Queen for You on the running rail. Sounds of Heaven and Tahiyra. Chris Hayes has now accepted his early fate, although is still a little wide on the racecourse as they climb steadily uphill, steadily being the name of the game. Meditate out in the lead, attended by Sounds of Heaven. And the outside goes Mama's Girl. Tahiyra widest of the 3. Phil 4th, 5th and 6th. Queen for You pokes up the inside running round as they're going to turn into the straight. This will be a dash for home. Only got 3 furlongs to go. Meditate with the ladies in waiting on the outside. Sounds of Heaven and Mama's Girl. Tahiyra pulls towards the outside. Queen for You's asked to stretch. Just climbing slightly as out in the lead. Meditate and Sounds of Heaven. Tahiyra making ground relatively smoothly. Still has a length to find. Then behind these is Remarquee. Battle joined, a furlong and a half to go. With Sounds of Heaven, Tahiyra around the outside. Remarquee is squeezed out at a crucial stage. Meditate battling on the inside. It's Tahiyra who's found the best turn of foot from Meditate. Remarquee trying to regather some momentum, was the unlucky filly getting stopped, and in the line it is Tahiyra who wins the Coronation Stakes. Second and closing Remarquee, who did get squeezed but has been beaten 3 parts of a length. Sounds of Heaven in 3rd place, Meditate in 4th, Queen for You and Mama's Girl. Messy at the beginning, and crucially messy about a furlong out. Tahiyra's won by a good length, and that is going to count in her favour. Remarquee has got up for second, I think, and that is crucial because I think that's where the interference has occurred between those 2 fillies. And side on, there was a considerable cost to Remarquee's momentum. With it being a length, historically they haven't changed results around, but I think you will hear a bing bong. Chris Hayes has ridden at the moment his first Royal Ascot winner. Dermot Wells had his second winner in the race 45 years after the first, but in a race that took a little time to run, it may well be before the result is confirmed there will still be a little more time.
Yes, this is going to take a lot of looking at. At the moment, Dermot Weld wins his first Royal Ascot race since the Prince of Wales with Free Eagle in 2015. Jason, watch the noseband carefully here.
Yeah, there was a moment. Look, she's got the best change of gear on the outside, but Chris comes across and closes the door on Rob Hornby, and he's managed to try and keep going until literally the head-on will show that she checks out of that position to switch to the outside. I don't think they'll turn it around. There will be a steward inquiry, but if you were on the second, you have had nowhere near a clear cut of the winner.
Especially when you consider how she ran on once she was able to pick herself up. Check, yes, not a major kind of having to pull herself off heels there, but you're right.
You'll watch here, Rob Hornby keeps on riding when the gap has even gone. Just watch here.
What do you make of it, Ruby?
We're showing you watching the head on, I'm watching it too. So the question is, did interference take place? What do you think, Ed? AP, did interference take place? It's marginal if it did, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And has it improved Tahiyra's position? I wouldn't think it is. I strongly believe the stewards should be in the stewards room watching this now and calling it before Tahiyra gets off the track. I think we should be like the TMO in rugby, like VAR in soccer, and this decision should be getting made now before anybody gets off the track and we get a result. To me, it won't be swapped around. There was interference. Will Chris Hayes get a day or two? Maybe he will. It's marginal. I would even say Sounds of Heaven comes out as much as Tahiyra comes in. Should be no change, but I strongly believe these decisions should be made quickly.
I'll give you the BHA response to that in a little while, Ruby. For the meantime, let's hear no klaxon as yet. Let's hear from Chris Hayes.
Thank you. What a way to ride your first Royal Ascot winner. There is a stewards' inquiry. I did have a quick word with Rob Hornby. I don't think he's going to fight this that hard. But Chris, first of all, tell us about the problems you had coming out of the stalls.
Yeah, she loaded late and she got a little agitated for a second and lost her hind end on me. I wanted to be closer, but she was running keen then because she kind of half frightened herself, so I had to ride her nice and cool and get her to relax. Slow pace. She done well because she was running at a quickening pace, and she had a little look at the sand and rolled for half a stride. And I can't wait to ride this filly in a proper run mile, and you can really see what she's made of.
To be honest with you, this race was always going to be a bit of a mess when Morge came out. Did you go in there just thinking to yourself, okay, well, I'll ride the horse who has the best turn of foot?
I spoke to the boss earlier on, and the only thing he said to me is do what you do. So that's what I done. Just took it nice and easy, and look, things like that happen. She slipped coming out of the gates. Plan B, straight away I had to go to it, and I had to forfeit my position early to Rob, who was keen as well. But I knew if this filly over-raced and I was there too soon, it wasn't going to be straightforward, but I had to just ride her like the best, and she's the fastest in the field. As I said, I can't wait to ride her in a true run race.
And like Tahiyra, Chris, you on a personal level have always had loads of talent. You're one of the very few people who've managed to be triple champion apprentice in Ireland. You're a classic winning jockey. But in these silks, for the master of Rosewell who won this race 45 years ago, it was 9 years after that you were actually born. How special is it to walk into this winner's enclosure in a moment?
Look, this means a lot. I was joking with you earlier on because a lot of people, the way they were talking, I was the only chink in her armour. I wasn't a chink today anyway.
You definitely weren't, and the crowd are gonna love it.
So here comes the provisional winner, Tahiyra. Second in our guineas, wins the Irish 1,000 guineas, comes and wins the Coronation Stakes. And if you backed her, we don't think you need to panic. 1.02 she is to keep the race. That's 50 to 1 on the exchanges. And the summary from our panel here, would it be interference, marginal? She was much the best filly in the race.
Yeah, she look, the eventual winner has made that angle run. We saw it there from the head on. She definitely came across and across and across the whole way through. But the inside did take a little bit of a step to her left-hand side as well. So 6 and 2 3s. But you'll find that a lot in Ireland. They always tend to come with that arrow run, and once they get a move on the outside, they drift in under the other runners.
Knowingly.
A little
That's part of race
intentionally,
riding, isn't it?
Yeah, it is part of race riding, but it was tight there.
Let's give you the provisional result, just the 6 runners. Walpole actually pays for 3, and as we've been talking, it's gone 101 on Betfair for the stewards' inquiry. 8 to 13. Tahiyra won. There was money late for her. Remarquee second at 25 to 1, and whatever happens, Jason, you fancied her for this. Julian Richmond-Watson and the Beckett team have got a really nice filly moving forward.
Yeah, she's going to have a real productive back end of the campaign, that is for sure. Lots of ability. Be interesting when she gets a bit of ease in the ground as well.
Yeah, agreed. I thought she looked like she wasn't fully striding out to her maximum potential. She has that slightly high head carriage as well, which is why she wears sheepskin noseband, but potentially ease in the ground will see her just lengthen a bit better.
And AP, we'll look at the start in just a second, but Dermot Weld, I mean, he's the story here, isn't he? A first winner in 1973. 50 years ago, before you were born. He had his first winner of this race in 1978, and he now has his 18th Royal Ascot winner.
Yeah, and to win this race, what was it, 45 years ago, to train Melbourne Cup winners, to train, winners in America. He was probably the first to win the Melbourne Cup, obviously, but phenomenal trainer, jumps, flat, the whole lot. And this filly, she was very good. I know she missed the start a little bit, but I actually think it worked out in Chris Hayes' favour. She may be a little keen, but she was the best filly. That's the long and short of it. But Dermot Weld, phenomenal trainer for such a lengthened period of time all around the world.
And he'll be enjoying this for sure, though still has to get through that stewards' inquiry, which may not last too long, we shall see. Ruby, the response from the BHA I got when asked them about your request about stewards' inquiries, their response is it's essential to promote robust debate of an incident, that all panel members can voice their opinions freely. This would not be possible if those deliberations were broadcast live. They say they're not aware of any judicial process or quasi-judicial process of which the deliberations of a jury or panel or decision makers are broadcast, and betting remains live on races while stewards' inquiries are being deliberated. So basically say it's not fair. What do you think of that?
I don't think that's a weak argument myself. I do think if you're watching the TMO, they debate it live. I think the decisions could be made before horses come back in. You have a provisional winner, to quote you, Ed, standing in the winner's enclosure here, when you could have an official winner if stewards made the decisions much quicker. If they don't want to show it to us, so be it, but they still should be making them instantaneously.
Now, I know we're still waiting on the official result, but we're keeping our fingers crossed that it looks relatively straightforward that Tahiyra will keep it. Dermot Weld has just watched her come back in. Dermot, let's just deal with the performance first of all, because I thought she was very smooth today. What did you make of it?
I thought she put in an excellent performance. I think she was a worthy winner, and I think she'll hold the race.
What happened in the early part of the race? Chris explained about the fact that just missed the kick, she went in late. But what she did in the circumstance of a slowly run race, how impressed were you with that particular aspect?
Yeah, with a very small field, I always knew it was going to be a very technical race. Tactical, and she's got so much pace. And she's a very, very talented filly. I just hope she holds on to the race. I see no reason why she won't. And she's a very brave. I thought she got a lovely ride from Chris, as the way the race turned out. He rode her hands and heels, and she was a deserving winner.
Obviously, Dermot, we talked before the race about the fact that you have won this race before, a long time ago.
Hold on one second.
There we go. That was just an announcement about the next race. Just an announcement about the next race. Obviously, Dermot, you're now able to share with your son, your grandson. What sort of perspective does that give you on the last 40-odd years?
Well, I've been very fortunate. I've won many Group 1s around the world. I think it's my 18th group race to win here at Royal Ascot, and I've been very fortunate in life.
And the beauty is that there's obviously a lot more to come from this filly. What's the plan from here?
I think the plan always was to give her a nice holiday, nice break. She's had a very busy spring, early summer, and she'll have a nice break now, and we look at a programme for her in the autumn.
Would you consider stepping up her trip at all?
It would be considered, definitely. It's a possibility.
Well done today.
Thank you if we hold the race, which I expect we should.
Fingers crossed. Thank you.
We can see in the steward's inquiry.
Interference was suffered by myself and significant check.
Rob Hornby making his case here. How convincing he'll be, we shall see. The chief steward is on the left there, Sean Parker. He's along with Alan Hepworth, who's the stewards panel chair. Richard Westrop, I think, is in there as the third steward. Rob Hornby will be explaining what's happened, and Matt's here. He's spoken to Rafe Becker. What did he say?
Yeah, it was really interesting, Ed. Rafe doesn't think in any way they're going to get this race in the steward's inquiry, first of all. The second thing he said was he blamed the horse for the interference, like he blamed Remarquee. He said the horse is still very, very green, which of course we saw at Newbury on ITV Racing early in the season. And he said basically when Rob wanted to go, the horse wouldn't go at that moment, and then the interference took place and she had to get herself going. And I thought the really crucial thing he added at the end was, which was something I hadn't really thought about myself, he said, how many of what my horses have a sheepskin noseband? He said virtually none. We never put them on. And he said the only reason this horse has a sheepskin noseband is because she's so green. And I mean, in a nutshell, I don't know how Rob will argue this in there, but he blamed Remarquee rather than anyone else.
Well, certainly Chris Hayes is looking incredibly relaxed here on the left there, unconcerned by what is going on at the moment. Ruby, what do you make of it all?
Yeah, I'd say Chris Hayes should be relaxed, because when we watch it again in the second, Ronan Whelan moves as much as Chris Hayes does, so he's not going to lose the race. But there was 2 bits of race riding here, and Rob Hornby was very good early as well. When you get to the end of the mile round shoot, he's going to drop it, the screw rail's going to drop, and they come across, sounds of heaven in front, meditate. Chris Hayes is in sort of third or fourth in the green colours, but Rob Hornby, who's last, decides, I don't want to be last, and he goes into a gap that Chris Hayes hadn't committed to and gets himself into a better position than Chris was. Chris ends up last now on Tahiyra, and then the race race develops into a sprint off the bend. Now they do keep tight, but you expect riders of this standard to stay tight, sorry, not quiet. Rob Hornby gets the split in the middle into one sheepskin noseband. Chris Hayes is on the wide outside. He comes over to Rob Hornby, but if you keep an eye on the yellow cap, Sounds of Heaven, she definitely comes away from the rail as much as Tahiyra goes in. Tahiyra was first, Sound of Heaven comes out second. So look, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. The best filly has won. To me, there's not even a riding infringement there. You're flat out on horses that are sprinting. You're trying your best, and that result's not going to be turned over, which we could have all told you about 90 seconds after they crossed the line, instead of, what are we now, 11 minutes after the race, are we?
Yeah, they need to get on with it.
Going through the motions, I think, at the minute. One thing it does do, AP, throwing it forward, and look, hopefully Morge comes back pretty soon. She sounds like she's still coughing somewhat. Rematch should be fun, won't it, from the Guineas, and now Chuck Remarquee in the mix.
Yeah, two really good fillies, and as Rafe Beckett said, the match, she's only going to improve her performances.
From a jockey's point of view, so Remarquee got her nose, pretty much onto the hindquarters of Tahiyra when she was trying to go for that gap. I mean, you don't have rear view mirrors, so how do you necessarily know that there is a horse there?
She was quite clearly quickening up the best on the outside, so Rob would have been aware that Chris was coming down the outside, and of course you're just trying to ride into a position.
Should we just try and listen to what Chris is saying?
Do any of you have anything you wish to add before we deliberate? Could you all wait outside for a couple of minutes, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Didn't have a lot to say, understandably, so they'll now go out. Those deliberations that some would like to hear, DHA have explained why they're not heard. Francesca?
But how much did Chris Hayes know where Remarquee was?
Oh no, he knew that she was coming, but of course there's that angle line, isn't there? And Ruby's talking about, at this level that you're going to keep everything, racing tight. Yeah, you're going to keep racing tight, but if there was an angle in, look, they're not going to turn it around. We're not expecting it to be turned around, and the filly on the inside did just come out, but it's that initial tightening of it all, isn't it? And if we're going to talk about being up at the absolute pinnacle and the best of the race riding, those are things that the jockeys do at the top level. Whether the stewards clamp down on that and we become like an Australia or a Hong Kong, strong possibility.
Because horses don't really run in lanes.
Nope.
You saying he has gone on an angle?
Oh yeah, there was an angle. Of course,
the alternative is
we saw him
just keep
change
straight.
hands twice with his right hand, and that's quite clearly just to switch her down and keep the filly tight on the inside.
And maybe with inexperience, Remarquee is probably a little bit timid still. You know what I mean? Maybe she still isn't able to fight her corner that you would like, and she'll learn from the experience. But the best filly won. That's the long and short. The stewards need to get on with it.
I'm slightly surprised. It was very quick the other day, wasn't it? Deliberations were short.
You can come back in. A lot of the time you would come back in America, for argument's sake, and the jockeys jump off, you get on the phone, you say your piece, you say, Francesca says her piece, and then we get the result.
Here is the result of the steward's inquiry. The placings remain unaltered. I repeat, the placings remain unaltered.
Congratulations, Dermot Weld. You can smile now. You have won the Coronation Stakes again. Sutton Place in 1978, now Tahiyra in 2023. And